1. I do both serving and hosting at this restaurant in a very touristy small town. Anyway, I was hosting this day, and I had gotten a phone call. It was this lady who said she was from out of state and had visited and stayed in my town. She started saying that she had left something behind and was wondering if we could mail it to her since she's from out of state. I mean, it's not unusual. People leave things at restaurants all the time. And we have a lost and found box. I asked her what she left behind. I was not expecting her answer. She goes, "It's embarrassing, but it's a pink vibrator, and it's little and cutesy looking." In my head, I was like, oh my god, what the fuck? Thinking this lady had brought a vibrator to the restaurant. I mean, if that were to happen, it would have been a big deal at the restaurant, since we are a high-end establishment. Also, I highly doubt we would have held on to it. I was trying so hard not to laugh. She then asked if the cleaning crew would hold on to it. I was confused because we don't have a cleaning crew. We are a small restaurant and can do all the cleaning ourselves. When I told her, she got all confused and asked, "Aren't you Happy Endings Hotel?" I was also confused because when I answer the phone, I say, "Thank you for calling," and I give the restaurant name. "How may I help you?" So I don't know how she missed that. This hotel was about a half-mile down the road, was on the other side of the road, and there are dozens of businesses in between us. Also, there is no restaurant inside the hotel. When I told her she had called a restaurant, she was like, "What? I thought this number was for the hotel." At least, this is what I was given. I asked her if she ate at our restaurant during her stay because maybe she could have confused the numbers, but she hadn't. So I took the liberty to look up the hotel phone number for her on our iPad, and it was not one bit close to our phone number. However, I gave it to her, and I didn't know how to end this call because I never thought I'd get a call like this while working at a restaurant, so I said, "I hope I was able to help you. Best of luck in finding your missing property." Which was so awkward for me to say, but what else could I say? Anyway, I felt bad for her because it must have been so embarrassing for her since she called a restaurant to ask if they had her vibrator. However, I couldn't stop laughing about it for the rest of my shift, and the customers were so confused, but I couldn't and wouldn't tell them why I was laughing. Anyway, that was the most awkward phone call and customer interaction I've ever had in almost 10 years of being in the customer service industry. 2. One of my big bugbears as a server was the suit with corporate card who acted like his expense account made him more important than anyone else. Like, I don't know, to me personally, I think it's kind of embarrassing that you'd think spending someone else's money makes you more important than the people who are here spending their actual own hard-earned. For some reason, these were almost always a large party client dinner, with no booking. It was like they liked showing up with no booking to prove they could throw their weight around anywhere and get special treatment. Then complained about how they need better of everything because I'm hosting clients. Yeah, maybe if you care about your client's opinion so much, you should make the effort to have your assistant book a table, no? For a while, I worked on a dinner cruise on a riverboat. Most people booked ahead. It's not usually a walk-in kind of thing. It was often for a special occasion. But more often than I'd like, we'd get a walk-in table or some corporate group that had out-of-town clients to entertain, and decided the touristy cruise would be good. Now, there are better and worse tables here, views-wise. The best tables do get a somewhat better view out of the windows, but none of them are bad views, and you could also stand your ass up and go sit on the outer decks to enjoy the view there at some point in the 3-hour cruise, if you like. So we allocated tables by order of time of booking. Book early, get the best tables, and work down the list from there. One night, I get some condescending insurance company suit to rock up 10 minutes before departure with a table of 15, no booking, waving a platinum Amex or whatever. "Of course, sir, no problem, welcome. Here's your table," that we've just scrambled together on a minute's notice. It was towards the back of the deck, because that was what was left for a party of that size. Now, it is not really much difference of how much you can see out the windows compared to anywhere else, except for the very front of the deck, where there's a large alcove with windows on both sides to the front. Think like a very large bay window. This alcove was usually a set of 5 two-tops. The alcoveness of the window made it kinda romantic. Cute little spot for dates and special occasions. Now, most of these tables were already seated. Many of the other forward rows outside the alcove were also already seated. This guy comes swaggering up and demands a better table. He doesn't want to be down the back. Again, the views are to the side, so being up front or down back makes little difference unless you're at the very front windows in the alcove. I explained this in hostess speak. Still great views from anywhere on the deck. I can recommend the rooftop deck for even better views. Please do head up there before or after dinner, etc., etc. Not good enough. He demands we seat his table in the alcove, where there are already 8 people seated at their tables having drinks. He wants us to kick 4 couples off their tables they are already sitting at, and shift and reset tables to put his 15 people in there, when service is already started and people are already seated. Of course, I explain that I cannot do that. He tries to throw his weight around, saying he's bringing in 15 people, and that he's spending more money than the people already up there, so he should get the better spot. I explain again I cannot kick people off a table they're already sitting at, which they have booked well in advance for a last-minute party with no booking. He triples down at this point, insisting he's worth more and demanding the tables up front, so I pull out my booking sheet. Sir, that elderly couple on the right, they're celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. They booked 6 months ago and have driven in from a country town over an hour away. The young couple on the left, he is proposing to her tonight. He booked 3 months ago. The other tables there have all booked months in advance. I cannot ask them to leave. I will be happy to set a table on the outside decks for your party to have drinks and enjoy the views, but I cannot move you to the front of the deck. It just made me so mad that this asshole with a corporate card and no booking thinks he should get better treatment than a pensioner couple. They're paying the same amount, but it costs them personally a lot and him personally absolutely nothing. It means a lot to them, and to him it means nothing but a client dinner he couldn't even be bothered to make plans for. I'm not messing with other people's night because you have an expense account from your boss, buddy. He blustered and complained, but eventually went back to his table. His guests actually enjoyed themselves immensely. I could have comped them a couple of bottles of wine or whatever, but I didn't. Nah. You get what you get, and it's what you deserve after that little performance. The woman and the young couple said yes to the proposal, and it sounds cheesy, but the whole restaurant actually did clap. The anniversary couple were delighted and earnestly congratulated them, and ended up reminiscing about their own engagement and giving sweet marriage advice. The young couple congratulated the old couple on their anniversary as well, and it was just all very sweet. Worth way more than pandering to a suit on a power trip. 3. I'm a 20-year-old male. Work at a popular soul food chain in southeast part of the United States. For starters, I have autism and am high-functioning. I've been working as a waiter for 3 years to help myself with social interactions and overstimulating environments. Tonight I was nearing the end of my shift. I had about 3 tables eating and didn't need anything from me. A man about mid-30s is seated in my section and I go up to greet him. I introduce myself and the first thing he does is ramble to me about sirloin steaks and the proper way to cook them and so on. This goes on for several minutes. I patiently listened as my other tables were happy. He goes on to explain that every time he comes into the restaurant I work at, they always seem to mess up his steak. Usually, when someone says this to me, it comes off as malicious towards me and the other staff. That was not the case for this guy. He just explained how he wanted the steak and even showed me pictures. I went to the back and placed his order and went about my shift. Approximately 10 minutes later, his plate is ready. I take one look at the steak and I see that it's overdone. I cringe because this guy was very adamant about his steak. I decided to bring it out anyway and let him see. I put it down in front of him and ask if it is still acceptable, or would he like it remade calmly. He looked at it, and I watched him start to panic. He wasn't angry, definitely flustered, but not angry. I told him that I was sorry about the steak, and I could get it remade if he wanted. He looked up at me on the verge of tears, and said he didn't want to waste the steak or upset anyone, and he wished that the kitchen had just made the steak properly. I'm used to the angry guests that regularly come in, but this was different. I knew this wasn't just about steak. I reassured him that no one was angry with him, and that it was no problem to get him a replacement. Throughout my efforts to calm him down, I noticed a man from one of my other tables really getting a kick out of this guy, laughing and loudly talking about him and such. This didn't help the situation at all. I managed to calm him down enough to leave and get the new steak. When I brought it back, he was happy with it. I debated on doing this, but I decided to ask him if he was doing okay. He got quiet and kind of mumbled, "I'm autistic. I'm sorry, I always do this." That's when it all clicked for me. After that, him and I discussed life with autism together, and his demeanor completely changed. He happily told me all that he could about steaks and his other special interests. I was happy to listen, as I could tell this guy didn't get to talk about this to many people. All the while, the guy at my other table was still talking loudly about him. Even though I was trying my best to keep my attention to this guy, my blood was starting to boil. Eventually, the man, being disrespectful, got up to leave and hollered at me, "Good luck," and then walked away laughing. I don't really know what I'm looking for by posting this. Did I handle this properly? Should I have said something to the ignorant asshole? I'm not sure. I will say that it's currently 3 a.m. where I am, and I can't sleep because I can't stop thinking about it. 4. Hey, so everyone here knows the key to customer service is to smile and just say, "Yes, no problem." But occasionally you get a scenario where you get to put someone who's being a prick in their place. So I work in a bar and restaurant, and it was a moderately busy Sunday shift. Nothing crazy, and I had a table of 3 women who were in for some brunch. 2 of them got a bottle of Prosecco to share, and the third got a gin and tonic. I prepared it all, put it all on a tray and brought it over, gave them their beverages and said, "Enjoy." About 30 seconds later, the lady with the gin and tonic came up, holding her drink, and said, "This is so disgusting, there's lipstick on the rim of my glass." And I was immediately like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll replace your drink for you, my apologies," and grabbed what I thought was a clean glass and remade her drink and brought it over. About a minute later, while I'm tidying behind the bar, I hear, "Oh, for God's sake!" and I peek over my shoulder to see her slithering back over to the bar. "This is a disgrace. You've now given me 2 filthy glasses. This one's also covered in lipstick." When I tell you I turned bright red, proper mortified, couldn't apologize enough, I even said I'd see about giving them a discount on their food. Told her to take a seat and I'd replace her drink again and give her her next one free of charge. So this time when I got a new glass, I triple checked it for any lipstick marks and even polished and re-cleaned it just in case I developed lipstick-specific blindness. Remade her drink in the most sparkling, pristine glass I've ever presented in my life. If the sun had hit it, it would have refracted the light into laser beams around the room. I gave her her drink, apologized again, and head back behind the bar. About a minute passes, and I hear a very familiar, shrill voice exclaim, "Oh, this is fucking ridiculous!" And my heart sinks. She is already marching towards the bar, bringing her friends this time. "Are you doing this on purpose? This isn't funny. I want everything comped. I just want to enjoy a drink, and I'm constantly being bombarded with this filth." She and her friends said some meaner things too, calling me useless, etc. The usual. And then she held up her glass with a huge lipstick stain on the brim, and that's when it clicked. Ma'am, that's your lipstick. Her face went as pink as her lips when she realized. Her temper seemed to quiet down, but I could tell she was still fuming. More so about being embarrassed in front of her friends and the lipstick now. I didn't get an apology, but she did seem to acknowledge that I was right. "Uh-oh," she said. I could basically hear her heart sink. And the three of them went back to their table. They didn't say much to me after that, didn't get the discount on their food, and they left me an alright tip when they left, so I'd call that a win. 5. This happened back around 1986. I was working my way through college and had gotten a job working for a lobster restaurant off the coast of Maine. The restaurant was located on a very small beach, and on the other side of the beach was a ferry landing where the restaurant operated a small takeout shack known as the picnic area. You could get anything from hamburgers to steamed clams and lobsters at the picnic area. We had an outdoor cooker that we used to cook the lobsters. As we couldn't give out metal picks and nutcrackers, we would cut the lobsters with a French knife so that the patrons could easily remove the lobster meat. Needless to say, I wound up in many a photo album with many tourists taking my picture as I prepared their lobsters for them. But that is not where the story lies. One day I had just finished preparing an order for a family and was heading back inside when this older man, late 60s, early 70s, approached me. I noticed he had exited from a very large Cadillac with New York plates. He looked over at me and said, "Hey kid, come here." I went over and asked him how I could be of service. He asked me if there were any motels with vacancies between here and the next town up. I explained to him I'm not sure, and I gave him the names of several motels. I told him I was not sure if they had vacancies or not, as I really wasn't looking at them. He then asked me about the bed and breakfast places. He wanted to know if there were any vacancies in those here and the next town of Belfast. I reiterated my answer. He then asked me the same questions about motels and then about the bed and breakfast in Belfast City proper. Again, I told him a list of places, but said I don't know if they have vacancies. Well, he then asked me what the next town above Belfast was. I told him that was Searsport and was a very pretty small Maine town. Yep, you guessed it. He asked me if there were any motels and vacancies or bed and breakfast that had vacancies. I told him, sir, I just do not know if any of the motels or bed and breakfasts there have vacancies. I did not come through Searsport, so his guess was as good as mine. I noticed as I was telling him my boss was watching me through the takeout ordering window. He could see that I was getting pretty well exasperated with this tourist. Finally, the man was equally exasperated with me and says, "You know, kid, you're pretty fucking stupid." To which I replied, "Yes, sir, but I have a place to sleep tonight." And with that, I walked back inside. As I walked back inside, I did not see my boss's face in the window. I immediately resigned my fate of being fired. As I came around the corner inside, I found my boss sitting cross-legged on the floor of the picnic shack. He was laughing so hard he was gasping for air. He finally told me that I sure told that tourist off. In Maine, we have a saying, "For every mile north a tourist drives, they lose 1 IQ point." This proved to be more accurate than I could ever guess. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates, episode 210. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I would appreciate it if you enjoyed the video, you gave it a boop before you go. Thank you kindly. Right, I don't think there's any other business today. No, there is not. So let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, Tea. Do you like it in a bag or do you like it loose? Speaking personally, it depends on the type of tea. If I'm doing cold brew, I like a loose leaf because I have a device with a filter in it. So you put that in and it makes a good cold brew tea. If I'm having it hot, I'm good with a bag. Although there are certain types I buy, like there's gunpowder green, that I buy when it comes loose. I do have a little diffuser, a little 1 cup kind of diffuser. I may get a bigger one at some point, but for now 1 cup does me fine. So let me know what you think in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.